There was a civil war this weekend at the box office, but did it come out on top? I'm Adam, this is Does It Hold Up? And every Tuesday we go over what were the top 10 movies at the box office and take a look at a few other charts and numbers. As always, we start with the top 10 movies at this weekend's box office. In first place, it was Alex Garland's Civil War. This movie took in $25,712,608, which doesn't really sound like that impressive of a number for a number one opening, but maybe it was. Let's take a look at what were the top four, yes, only four, highest grossing movies of Alex Garland's directorial career so far. He's only directed 4 movies: 2015's Ex Machina, 2018's Annihilation, 2022's Men, and this past weekend's Civil War. So if we take a look at all those movies, we can see that Men, back in 2022, opened up the lowest with just around 3.3 million. In 2015, Ex Machina opened up to 5.3 million. Here's the biggest problem. Ex Machina actually opened up to only about $250,000, but that was only when it was in like 4 theaters. So this number of 5.3 million is actually from the first weekend that it went wide. So I cheated a little bit here considering it was in its 3rd weekend when it went into over 1,000 theaters, but it's my chart. I'm going to do what I want. In 3rd place would be Annihilation from 2018 with just over $11 million. And Civil War from this past weekend with that $25.7 million would easily be the highest grossing opening weekend for an Alex Garland film. But do these movies actually, make any money? Well, if you take a look at the number below the box office that they made their opening weekend, you can see what their estimated budgets were per movie. Men had a budget of about $7 million, so opening up to $3 million that weekend, pretty good start. 2015's Ex Machina had a $13 million budget. Again, $5 million, strong. 2018's, here's where we get a little tricky. Annihilation had a reported budget of around $55 million, only taking in $11 million in its opening weekend. It would have to do 5-6 times that to break even, or actually not even to break even, to kind of be close. Let's just say that. So, not too strong. And then Civil War had an estimated budget of around $50 million. So taking in half that in just its opening weekend is a very, very strong start. Let's go back to the top 10. In 2nd place in its 3rd week is Godzilla and Kong, The New Empire with $15.5 million, a 50% drop in its 3rd week, holding pretty strong, just around $160 million so far. In its 4th week is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire in the 3rd slot, with $5.7 million, a 36% drop. It's almost at $100 million. Will it get there next weekend? I don't know. If it has another drop like it just had this past weekend, it won't. But I have a feeling it'll definitely get there before it's out of theaters. In 4th place is Kung Fu Panda 4 in its 6th week, with another $5.5 million, 29% drop, $173 million domestically already. Dune Part 2 comes in 5th place in its 7th week with $4.3 million, a 42% drop, but this movie's just blowing everybody else out of the water, having already made $272.1 million just domestically. In 6th place is Monkey Man in its 2nd weekend with just over $4 million, a 60% drop, $17.7 million so far. And I had a feeling this was going to have a really big drop because it had some hype going into it. People were kind of stoked to see this movie, but the movie didn't really deliver what people wanted, and it wasn't really getting rated that highly by much of the movie-going audience, so a 60% drop is right where I expected it to be. The First Omen in its 2nd week drops to 7th place with $3.8 million, a 54% drop, right around $14.5 million so far. In 8th place, in its 1,039th week, in its first week in a long time, is Shrek 2 re-released back into theaters with $1.4 million. Take a look at that number down there. Shrek 2 made $438 million total. That's an insane number. In ninth place, new to the chart, is The Long Game with $1.3 million. And in 10th place is Arthur the King in its 5th week with just $850,000, a 45% drop. 23.6 is what it's brought in at the box office. I assume they wanted much more than that, but it feels like this movie might be one that plays really well at home. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be watching this on Hulu or Netflix or Max or Paramount or Peacock or whatever streaming service it ends up on. People are probably going to be checking this one out. 3 movies fell out of the top 10 this past weekend. After just 1 week, both Someone Like You and Wicked Little Letters both fall out. Wicked Little Letters, I've been hearing nothing but good things about it, so if you haven't seen it, it might be worth checking out. And if you have seen it, let me know in the comments below. Did you like it? And Immaculate falls out after 3 weeks. I'm surprised that one didn't have longer legs. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 2023-2024 weekend comparison chart. We are in the 15th weekend of the year. We had Civil War opening up this weekend as the #1 movie. And it led the way to right around $74 million total for all movies at the weekend box office. Comparing that to 2023, where the Super Mario Bros. Was still the #1 movie in the box office, it led the way with $147 million. Not even remotely close the past 2 weekends, but that's okay because summer movie season is right around the corner, and I think there's a few movies that can compete and give us some really great weekends. 2024's top 10 movies so far of the year. Not a lot of change to this chart. Dune Part 2, Kung Fu Panda 4, and Godzilla and Kong are still 1, 2, and 3, but 4th place and 5th place did swap. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire jumps up into that 4th spot with $96.9 million, and Bob Marley One Love falls down to 5th place with $96.6 million. The rest of the chart is all the same. Wonka in 6th, Migration in 7th, Mean Girls, The Beekeeper, and Anyone But You rounding it out 8, 9, and 10. Let's go ahead and take a look at the genre distribution as we do per week here. Total gross so far at the domestic box office is $1.85 billion. Yes, that's a billion with a B. And action is still far and away leading the pack with 38.5%. Comedy with 17.5%. Drama still in third with just under 16%. Musical with 9.5%. Adventure with 6.6%. Horror just around 4%. Thriller and suspense 3.7%. Romantic comedies, I didn't even know that it could have this much money. I guess a lot of that came from the rollover of Anyone But You, 3.43%, and all the other genres make up just 0.85%. So that's it for the charts this week, but I did want to talk about Civil War very briefly. I had a feeling this movie was going to be very divisive. I have a review here on the channel. If you haven't checked that out yet, go ahead and check it out when you're done watching this video. I didn't really care for it all that much, fair warning, but definitely go check out the video anyway because I do give reasons why. There's a lot of arguments going on about this movie. Was it good? Was it bad? Should we actually take to heart what this movie was trying to say, I guess? And as much as that seems like a really weird thing to take away from this movie, I actually think it's a really good thing. Movies are supposed to spark debates, conversations. You're supposed to be able to walk away from a movie and want to talk about it, want to talk about the ideas behind it, want to talk about the production and how it all worked. Alex Garland made a beautiful film where the story just might not have held up as well as everything else about it did. But that's sparking a lot of debate. And I think that's beautiful. And I have a feeling Civil War, although not rated that highly and maybe not a great movie, might hold really strong next weekend. And a couple weeks ago, I talked about how movies aren't really made for adults anymore. A lot of it's just family-friendly flair that people can go and check out all together. The little ones, the old ones, doesn't matter. This movie was made for adults and adults only. So it's good to see it open up strongly. And if it holds really well next weekend, it's going to blow my theory out of the water because I thought Monkey Man might have done that. It might have been the one that could bring people back into theaters. But maybe, just maybe, it's Civil War. A movie about being divided might bring us all back together at the box office. Hey, look, my dog. Anyway, that's it for me this week. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about any of the numbers. If you have any suggestions for the show, if there's something you'd like to see or something maybe that's just not working for you, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff so the algorithm, wants to push me a little more. I'll be back next week with another box office roundup and later this week with the review of a movie. I don't know which one yet, but stay tuned to find out. Until then, be good to yourself, be kind to others, and as always, keep watching movies.